Hello guys, NautoAce here, and this is going to be another MmGS V-Blog Rewind. I'm just going to stick with the word rewind, kind of. After a while, I guess it just fits more than throwback or flashback or retroback, whatever. So, officially it's going to be rewind. So anyway, in this second episode, this time around I'm giving my thoughts on a controversy from Nintendo. I think I can remember. I think this was in 2015. Maybe it could be early 2016. And that is Chris Pranger conspiracy. So you kind of notice I keep saying what it is and the word Chris Pranger conspiracy. And what it is basically that, for people who don't know, is Chris Pranger used to be a part of the Nintendo Treehouse, the localization team. And what happened is that he was invited in not even a well-known podcast, no offense. I mean, it's not a lot of people recognize it. Like, I only knew it from a website that they talk about because of the guy, like, went out to him. But however, even so that it wasn't really like a big, popular podcast, again, nothing personal, Nintendo caught on it and he got in trouble. And what I meant by him getting in trouble, he got fired because a lot of speculation was he broke NDA, basically somehow gave scoop that he probably shouldn't have. And when I did listen to that podcast, and I have to say oh boy, yeah, he kind of didn't. I think it's in big doo-doo. The reason is, during that podcast, he kind of gave out some unintentional scoop. You might say, no, that's a common thing. Well, yes and no, but at the same time, it's something that probably Nintendo doesn't want you to know. And some of the key factor here, I'm just going to make it just fast here, is one, the Xenoblade Chronicle controversy there. This is why the Chris Pranger conspiracy is that he basically addressed the fan wanting Xenoblade Chronicles for the Wii to be brought outside of Japan. And the word that they were saying, the lingo was, I don't get it, Nintendo, don't you want money? I'm willing to pay for this if you bring it out. Chris Pranger then said, Nintendo does want money, and that's the reason we don't want to bring it out, because do you really think a lot of people are going to buy this? That's the question. Like, do you really think that if Nintendo actually brought this game out outside of Japan, people are really going to buy it? You can say all you want, but are you going to follow through? I mean, that's the thing what he was saying, and that's why it's called a Chris Pranger conspiracy, because that even so you can say, don't you want our money? We're supporting you, and this is what we get. Sometimes the business kind of see it the other way, because it just makes more sense that you can say things here left and right, but if you don't follow through, then they did it for nothing, and are they going to make any money? That's why, to some extent, don't you want more sale when you put English dub? And to some extent, they'll say, is it going to be really? Are people going to listen to it? Do you think people will actually buy the game full price, even if it has English dub? Maybe they're going to wait for clearance, and they made it worse for them. See, that's the part. And that was the Chris Pranger conspiracy there, is that they are seeing it the other way around, that you're not seeing it as a fan. You're just saying, oh, well, if you bring it out, I'll pay it. But who's going to buy for this game? Is it going to be 1 million people going to buy it? 100 people going to buy it? 10,000 people? Whatever, how much? And that's what the Chris Pranger conspiracy is. Other thing he basically said was what they do during the Treehouse, to some extent, that they play video games from other consoles, like the Genesis, PlayStation, yes, but I mean, again, it's a given, but to some extent, it's not something you're supposed to confirm. Another one was he mentioned about Sakurai being sensitive, and again, it is something that kind of, the lingo is there, but him saying it is like confirming it, and yeah. So, it's a real shame, and that's why he was let go from the company. He kind of regret what he did, and it is kind of sad. I think he didn't meant to. He was just really supporting the company, but he kind of went, I guess he got overboard, let's just say that, to a point that, he got in trouble. So, there you go. That's basically the premise for this Rewind V-Blog. So, basically, the video is about my 30 minutes. Yes, the reason it was 30 minutes because they really had a lot of points about it, like literally a lot of points of what he did. The keyword is unintentional. He didn't meant to, but again, the damage had been done. So with that, here is MmGS V-Blog Rewind number 2. My thoughts on Chris Pranger forced to part ways with Nintendo, and why I call this the Chris Pranger conspiracy. Before I start this rewind, previously I said that it was going to be 30 minutes. Well, correction, I made a mistake there. It's actually 1 hour, and listening back, I kind of give more details of why the 3 points of why Chris Pranger was let go from Nintendo. So what I'm going to do here is that you can have two choices. You can listen to my original version for 1 hour of my thoughts on why Chris Pranger got fired, what are the points, or links on the upper right corner. It's also in the description box. And what it is it's going to be in another video, which me summarizing, I'm going to summarize this, trying to condense the best of the ability I can, explaining what that video is all about. That was actually long. Again, I put a lot of pointers in that one, maybe more than it should have been. Oops. So that's on me there. Again, I mean, if you want to listen to it, that's fine, but it's up to you. There's a reason why, like I said it before, it's meant to listen, not to watch, because sometimes they tend to ramble too long. This is a case of it. So again, for people, it's not 30 minutes, it's 1 hour, and this is a long time ago. I think it was 2016 when he got let go. But also, I'm going to say you have another choice. I'm just going to summarize it on another video. Hopefully, I'll try to do it under 15 minutes. Well, I'll just have to wait and see. So with that, the Rewind V-Blog about Chris Pranger, why he was let go. My pointers for 1 hour, go. Hello guys, NautoAisDx once again. And this is going to be a special V-Blog. I guess sort of a response to some of the people talk about this subject about Nintendo. Okay, so if you're in the know, you know what just happened yesterday, and it is an unfortunate. But for people who don't know what I'm talking about, is that yesterday Chris Pranger was fired from Nintendo. You go, wait, Nintendo? They fired people? This is the first time I heard it. I mean, me too. This is the first time actually I heard about this. So, what's the backstory here? Okay, and first of all, who's Chris Pranger? For people who don't know who Chris Pranger is, he used to work for Nintendo Treehouse. Basically, Nintendo's localization team. Their own internal localization team, and I'll get more to that later on. What's the big deal about Treehouse? So he basically used to work there, and what happened was he was invited to a podcast called Part-Time Gamer Podcast, and they were just talking about video game in general, having fun. But then when Nintendo heard about what happened, and I guess they either listened to the podcast or they just heard what's going on, Nintendo basically told him, hey, Chris Pranger, you're fired. And of course, it was a big shocker. And if you think, well, what happened? Why would they fire this guy? So apparently what happened was in the podcast, and if you guys have time, if you want to know what happened, try to listen to the podcast from the Part-Time Gamers. I don't know if they're still up. Maybe somebody was nice enough or mean enough, I don't know, you decide, to actually make their own a mirror or backup copy of the podcast. And you can understand why Nintendo wasn't too happy. But you say, well, did he talk bad about Nintendo? Was he talking negative about Nintendo? And the answer really is no. It was actually positive, but at the same time, the points that he was talking about Nintendo kind kind of like giving hints that, oh, this is what Nintendo does, and people take notes about this. And remember, Nintendo is it's not just a Japanese company. They are a very secretive company ever since the debut of the GameCube. Before that, they were just, they were basically showboating, showing their technology. They got better technology, even with the N64. And even to some extent the Virtual Boy, they were like bolstering it. But when new management changed in, they changed all basically their style. And one of them was, let's not share our product or technology. Let's keep it quiet until we show it. Because everything we try and talk about and bolster this, someone copies it, it makes it better, and then we look like the weaker team or something like that. So that's why since the GameCube era in 2001, Nintendo is known for being secretive. I mean, heck, even Shigeru Miyamoto at one point was given a gag order not to talk about his hobbies or do something about his hobbies because if you don't know his history, sometimes his hobby becomes a game. The idea just pops in, that becomes a game. So such as, there's a lot, but from what I remember, the top of my head is, he was speaking about vegetables. There's Pikmin. He was playing with his dogs, because he loves dogs, he's a dog person. Nintendogs. And I think to some extent, he was watching King Kong, and then he said, let's make a cartoon version, a toon version, Donkey Kong. So you kind of get an idea. So that's why, even at one point, they have to even take him to Nintendo in Japan, Kyoto, because Shigeru Miyamoto usually rides his bike, but then they're afraid, oh, well, if he rides his bike, that might be a game. Oh, no. Maybe it's Mach Rider riding a bike to Kyoto, Mach Rider. You get the idea why. So ever since then, they become secretive. That's with Nintendo. And for people who don't know what Nintendo is a video game company, but before that, they were a toy company. But after the great video game crash of 1982, 1983, Nintendo revolution with video game is. Thus, we have Nintendo console, the Game Boy, the Virtual Boy, you name it. That's what Nintendo is. Okay, so I talk about how Nintendo's secretive, who's Chris Pranger, about what is Nintendo as a company. So you for people who don't know this, so you say, well, Nintendo Treehouse, what is that? First of all, if you want to know the in-depth in the history of Nintendo Treehouse, you probably can just find it on Google. Just Google it, history of Nintendo Treehouse, and you'll understand what it is. But I'll try to give you the gist of it here, so you don't have to look around. You can just listen to me. So anyway, Nintendo Treehouse is Nintendo's internal localization team for NOA. So they're getting in charge of some of the first-party game to become from Japanese to English. Kotaku did an article about it. I think GameStop, IGN, and there's even a lot of history. So okay, great. So they have their own localized team. It's like Exceed, Atlas, Marvelous, etc., a localization team. Yeah, but for first-party Nintendo games. And of course, everybody knows Nintendo party games, Nintendo first-party games are always going to be good, especially with the localization, thanks to Treehouse. Yeah, there are party related to IGN. There have been times when if Treehouse can't really do it internally, they do outsource them to another company. They did it with Pandora's Tower and The Last Story. They outsourced it to Exceed to do those two games, to localize it in America. But most of the time they do localized games. They did it with the Pokemon game, Mario game, Legend of Zelda. You get it. But there is also also a downside about Nintendo Treehouse team. Even so that they are a Nintendo localized team, they can't really localize big things, such as JRPG. Pokemon, I guess, to some extent, you can't sort of get away with it, but like Xenoblade Chronicles for the Wii, that wasn't even localized in America because they can't do it. So any big JRPG type thing with text heavy that even requires voice, they normally outsource it to someone who can do a better job. That's really it. So again, is it a big deal? Yeah, if you want to get your Nintendo first party game, then yeah. They're the one that's gonna basically localize your game or you don't get it. But at the same time, they are considered they are like the elites when it comes for NOA. You say, like, why is that the big deal? Because again, if it wasn't for Treehouse, there wouldn't be any Nintendo game coming in America. That's them. And of course, that's what it is. And the most notable people there that, who works there is, one is, of course, Bill Trenton. He started as a translator for Miyamoto, and then suddenly he became the head guy for the Treehouse. He's technically the leading person who runs Treehouse. There's also Nate Dilford, knows about localization, knows culture. He's not a translator, but he understands the culture. And one for me that notable is Audrey. And if you know who Audrey is, she used to work for IGN, Nintendo Voice Chat, for a while in the past. You can see some of my podcast ramble with Rich. And the one thing that you notice me, I always say, because they always say this in the podcast, oh, be nice to Audrey, be nice to Audrey. Yet it's been her dream to work at Nintendo Treehouse. That's always been her ultimate dream. That's why she finally got it. And there's a lot of people's dream to go to Treehouse, including Chris Pranger. And so I'm going to explain later how devastating for Chris Pranger. So again, they're very elite because they're very secretive. One of the things is that they can't actually talk about what they're doing. I mean, not even to its basic. The only people know is we're Treehouse, we localize game, and we're gonna leave it to that. They can't even talk about what they do. They can't talk about what they do with their spare time to some extent. And when the public, say, other company go in to see how Nintendo works, or maybe investors, stockholders, or whatever, there's a big procedure in order just to see the Nintendo Treehouse offices. Yes, you can't just go in. One, it's like common thing. You can't bring a camera. You can't talk about it. No taking pictures. You do not talk about it. You have to sign a lot of papers just if you want to see the inside of Nintendo Treehouse. They never, ever in a million years or ever showed what's inside. The only closest one is a door that has a picture Nintendo Treehouse, and that was it. I mean, if you want to know where the name Treehouse came from, I guess they were playing Donkey Kong. But if you want to know about that history, again, Google it. Kotaku also did it. But the bottom line I'm trying to say here is that they are very elite. They are very secretive. You don't talk about it. If you really want to see it, you gotta send a lot of papers. You can bring in your iPhone, cell phone, camera, and when you talk about it, you get in trouble. You can't talk about it. So when you come out, when you're done with your business or whatever, and someone asks you, "Hey, what's inside?" You can't even say anything about it, or they can probably sue you for it. That's how bad it is. I mean, like, whoa, that's a little extreme. Well, they're trying to protect their business. Because there is a lot of liability. The minute you sign a contract, you agree to go into the Nintendo Treehouse office, they might do something to you if you're trying to spill the beans. Whether you work there or not, whether you invest or whatever, you try to spill the bean, they're going to probably find you, and then either they can sue you, they can, sue you, I guess. I mean, it is
like, it is a dream come true for a lot of people, but it's also kind of dangerous, even if you want to see it, because there's a lot of stipulation. You just don't go in and nope, that's it. You can't talk about it, no pictures, and if you basically slip, you can get in trouble from getting sued or whatever. I mean, that's what I heard. That's how scary it is. I mean, it is. I mean, if someone's able to go there, cool. But I have heard that they really can't talk about it. So that is what Treehouse. That's how secretive the place is. That is Nintendo Treehouse. They're in charge of your game to get localized, so you can play it outside of Japan. But at the same time, it is some sort of a secret elite club unit that anybody can't just get a job there. You have to prove it, and you have to understand why. So that's Nintendo Treehouse. So how did Chris Pranger even get fired? Well, like I said, he did with the podcast. So people said, well, I heard the podcast. He didn't really break the NDA. It could be subjective, but I did listen to it myself. And I hate to say it, he kind of did it. Unintentionally broke NDA. So the key word here is unintentionally. That's one of the keywords. There's going to be more keyword about this podcast. So one of the first keyword I'm putting in is unintentionally. He didn't spill the beans or anything, but he was kind of like unintentionally giving hints how the process works, including Nintendo Treehouse. And remember, like I said, you can't talk about what you do in Nintendo Treehouse. You gotta zip your mouth. So that's what happened. And then that's one of the problem was he was unintentionally was giving hint. The second problem was there are some point of the podcast he kinda, again, the keyword unintentionally jab on some people. He basically called out some people, and that wasn't even in a good way. It was, I'm sorry to say, that is the only thing that was negative. He wasn't negative about the company. He was actually defending the company, but he did jab on some of the groups. Mostly two: the JRPG fans and the FGC. Yes, the FGC also, and I'll explain that later. So at some point, he basically spilled the beans unintentionally. This is my just opinion about it. I don't know what the other reason is. Maybe there's a lot of things, and there's a lot of factors why. So, anyway, when the podcast started, he was there. He was humble, he was nice, but at the same time, I kind of noticed he was so casual. It's like, yeah, what's up? I'm Chris Pranger. I work in Nintendo. Let's talk about video game. So I was thinking about at this point on here in the podcast, the question I'm thinking about, did he go to the podcast as just Chris Pranger, as a gamer, passionate to video game? Or was he Chris Pranger, representative of Nintendo Treehouse? That's the question. And then the second question is, did he even get any permission even to do a podcast? Because here's another thing, and people are out there and say, well, you don't need permission. Yeah, I guess it depends how the company works. We don't know how the inner company works. But from what I have for some company depends is that when you're invited to a podcast and they want to talk to you, you have to let your superior know, hey, I'm going to be in the podcast, da-da-da-da-da. And mostly what happens is there'll be a PR there to go with you, and the PR, aka public relation, that's what it is. Their job is to maintain order on what you do. They'll tell you what you can talk about, not talk about. But the thing is, what also, and the big thing, and people, like I said, NDA. He intentionally broke NDA. And for people who don't know what NDA is, NDA stands for Non-Disclosure Act. And basically means when you sign a contract, when you sign an agreement about the NDA, you can't talk about stuff without permission to your higher-ups or the PR. That's the point. So that's where the thing I'm looking at, did he have a PR with him, or was he by himself? Is it a basement podcast? again, there's a lot of factors in what's going on. Because the way Chris talked, he was like basically one of the guys just talking about the other topic, they talk about a video game, and he was on a roll. I mean, for one thing I can say about for Chris Pranger, he was actually good with the podcast. It flowed. It was interesting to watch. That's what I mean, hey, you know, that's maybe one thing. Do a podcast, just talk about it. But I'll get to that. I'm going to get later what's some of the problem. In my opinion, that I think it raised a red flag. So, okay, now let's go talk about the podcast. I do apologize, but this is going to be a really long place. Like I said, I want to give all my thoughts about it, especially like the backstory, so you can just have to listen. You don't have to go browse and, you know, just listen if you want. I'm not forcing you, but this is all my thoughts here. Okay, sorry for that, a little it's off track, but I can back open the podcast. So again, from what I heard about Chris Pranger, he's an outspoken person. There's nothing wrong with that, but it is also kind of dangerous if you say the wrong thing. So the first thing that the major no-no basically talked about, and your work as a localization team at Treehouse, was somehow they end up talking about, well, the reason why even was talking about localization in the first place was, at one point in the podcast, he was talking about Final Fantasy VII, the remake. They were just talking about, in general, JRPG, and then they led to Final Fantasy VII remake, which, again, one, you can understand, it's not going to be on the Wii U, it's only in the PS4 and the Xbox One, and he was talking about Final Fantasy VII. But then out of nowhere, and again, it sort of flow and transition to, well, localization problem. And if you know the article, that he was basically addressing the Nintendo RPG fans, said, hey, you know, don't you want our money? We want this game, you bring it out. And Chris Pranger basically, yeah, we do want money, but it's not easy to localize games. And to some extent, that's kind of true, because XC themselves, there was an article about XC that they said their procedure about doing localization. Yeah, it is not easy peasy, but at the same time, it's not nothing to complain about. And he was sort of a bit unintentionally, there's a keyword, was complaining about the fans. Like, man, you know, you want this, you want that. Because one of the big games that never came in America that I guess it should have, but whatever, for the Wii was Captain Rainbow. There's a YouTube basically who gave you thoughts about it when Chris Pranger talked about that. He was saying, yeah, you know, it's kind of expensive. Does it really sell? You know, we have to think about that. Because the problem with that one was, one, there was a lot of assumption. Assumption number one, oh, people who want a Xenoblade Chronicle for the Wii, it's a minority. It's just a minority, not a lot of people. Sorry, that is false. There's a lot of people who wanted it. But the problem is, Nintendo decided to be so cautious and they limited to against some exclusive, and against some exclusive, and it was limited copies. Yeah, it's not going to sell a lot, because Nintendo was being scared. They were so scared of we don't want one of it doesn't sell. Well, sometimes take a risk is good, but the problem is, he was saying, second was the complaint was, oh, the voice acting, oh man, it's so expensive. Okay, we get it, voice acting is expensive. And then, here's sidetrack here for some argue, say, well, don't put voice acting, because I prefer sub, and, you know, it's more authentic. Okay, more power to you. But you gotta keep in mind, not everyone who's a JRPG fan, anime fan, prefer sub. They want a dub, including myself. I made a 4-part video why game should have not just sub, but dub. Yes, I get it. It's expensive to hire voice acting, but it's not still an excuse. I said this again, I'm going to say it again. A little bit of risk, put that dub, chances are more people might buy that game. Yes, but if it doesn't, be a man, try to take that loss. Because at least someone is buying your game. But the problem is, again, it's a business. You can't just say, well, at least someone buy the game. No, someone has to buy a lot of games or you're not making money. I get that. I do. But again, like I said, put dub. Some people might buy it. Not a lot of people will buy a game that's not dub. They're going to say, what is the game for? Why can't you put dub? You know, for goodness sake. that thing. But the problem was that the way he did it also, he did jump on the JRPG fan. Oh, you guys are demanding, you want it, duh. And the word he used that I always suggest never use is those people. He actually keeps saying the word, those people. What about those people? And in comments social 101, I just like to call that, you don't say the word we to represent yourself, and you don't say those people to represent them. Because when you say, oh, those people, it's kind of sound like, what, are they like bad people? Are they ruining society? Those people are bad because they wanted their JRPG and they're willing to give you money. And yeah, he basically jabbed at the JRPG when they were talking about Xenoblade Chronicles. And the second was also, he actually, and again the keyword, unintentionally gave some sort of hint how the Nintendo Treehouse worked. He did. He actually said, yeah, we have to figure out the game. Oh, we can't localize Captain Rainbow because we're gonna assume that's the problem. Don't assume in business is making you look like, excuse the language, an ass. He's so, yeah, we assume it's a minority. Again, it's not. How do you know? Oh, it's my belief. I just assume. Well, sometimes your belief in your assumption is not going to work. That's the problem. There you go. So, yeah, he made an assumption. He basically gave a hint, oh, this is what we do. We think this is going to make money. Is it worth to hire voice acting? And even so, like I said before, oh, well, they don't put voice acting. Not a lot of people. You don't put voice acting, not a lot of people are going to buy your game. Even former Capcom marketing, Christian Van, basically said it himself. Yeah, if we not put dub on Senkaku Basara, then it's not going to sell more. It's going to sell less. We just rather not bring it out than be jerk about it. I mean, it's just in the perspective of a company, if you're trying to make money, that's, I guess, the lesser of two evil. We're not going to be risk. We don't care if we're going to look like ourselves like idiots, but at least we get to keep our money. We don't lose a lot of money. We still have money in the bank. That was the problem with that one when he was talking about localization. And when he talked about that, people took that quote, analyzed it, and there were a lot of people talk, from NeoGaf to Go Nintendo. I mean, like I said, one guy did a video basically countering Chris Pranger's trying to counter his argument about Captain Rainbow. Should Captain Rainbow be published in America or localized in America? In my opinion, it should have. I think it's a unique game. It's original. People will buy it, but that's in the past, and I guess that's one of the reasons why. And there's a hint. I mean, we all know, because, well, that's common knowledge. Yeah, it is common knowledge, but at the same time, he kind of spilled the beans a bit. Unintentionally, he kind of broke NDA. Oh, this is what we do in Nintendo. If you try and analyze what he said, yeah, he kind of said, oh, this is what we do in Nintendo Power, Nintendo Treehouse. There you go. Oh, yeah, well, we gotta figure this is gonna sell. Da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. So, that was one of the big things that it was bad. Another big thing after that was major one that people got prepared. Not only took a jab on the JRPG fan, he took the jab on the Smash Brother community, the FGC Smash Brothers. Because I said this in one of my podcast response, or the Epic Restart Gaming podcast response about Sakurai, that he considered the game a party than a fighting game. That's, if you want to hear about it, it's on the video on this channel. So the first thing he did was he's talking about some sort of, I guess, some sort of an inner scoop about Sakurai. So, I'm just going to summarize it. The gist of it is, Sakurai is so passionate for Smash Bros. Because he's a director. He loved what he was doing. That's why he did the 3DS and the Wii U out of passion. Props to Sakurai. That's why he actually went Infinity and Beyond in the Wii U version, put more content on the game than the $60 should have. and even doing it with an injured hand. He was injured, lack of sleep. You get the idea. He kind of gave inside scoop that he was so passionate that he was also emotional. That Sakurai gets mad when someone leaks his work. Sakurai gets irritated when someone showed a leak of footage. He doesn't like it. And that's the reason why there's no story mode in Smash Bros. Wii U and 3DS is because he felt like, well, because they leaked it when the game came out in Japan like a month earlier than in America, and that kind of ruined the thunder, and he liked that because he wanted everyone to put, oh wow, that was, sound so whiny, like a whiny little kid. I'm sorry to say. Sometimes that's a problem when you're so passionate about something, you kind of throw away logic to some extent, so you become emotional. And like I said, logic versus emotional, they don't really work. They could, most of the time they don't. So anyway, so he was talking about like how Sakurai sometimes get irritated when people leak it, that he was saying that he wants to say to these people, knock it off, I worked so hard in this, please stop it. And again, inside scoop about Sakurai. But you say, well, that's not a big deal, he's just talking about what he thinks about Sakurai. Maybe that's what Sakurai is. Maybe he met the guy. Yeah, but that's what the reason why it's called a scoop, because the question there is, did Chris Pranger had consent? Did he have permission or consent to talk about what Sakurai does when he was doing Smash Brothers? That's the question. Again, unintentionally breaking the NDA. He was basically talking about somebody higher up, a game developer, and then you're saying inside scoop what he does. Something that I guess you're not supposed to know. Something that is behind the curtains, behind the door, that people are not supposed to know. He kind of spilled the beans again, unintentionally. It's just because of the topic, got a flow. The game itself, they're talking about, wasn't a problem, but when you talk about Sakurai, like, that's a scoop. People will take that note, and now they say, oh, well, this is Sakurai. So what's the problem with that? To some extent, a scoop is not always a good scoop, can be a bad scoop. It can ruin someone's reputation. To some extent, even though Sakurai is a nice guy and some people like him, there's some people who don't like him. Like I said, like, people didn't like him because, you put it on YouTube, sound like a whiny little kid, and that could ruin his reputation. And you gotta also understand, Japanese culture is when you talk bad about them, normally people just gonna ignore it and just move on. The problem in Japan is they really can't. When someone talks bad about them, they have to take note because it does reflect on the company. They can't leave it unchecked. Again, different culture, but it is what it is. So there you go. That was a problem there with Sakurai. It was an inside scoop. That was bad. So that was the second major thing. And the third major thing that I heard listening to the podcast that he's not supposed to talk about is what, and I said this in the beginning, that when you go inside Nintendo Treehouse, you sign a lot of documents, you don't talk about what's inside Nintendo Treehouse. Again, unintentionally, he kind of did. What did he say? Yeah, so basically he basically talked about what do we do when we're inside the Nintendo Treehouse. Like, how do we do, what our procedure, what's our process, what's our daily routine. Again, you don't talk about Nintendo Treehouse. That's never. And so he kind of did, and he mentioned, there was a small library in the Nintendo Treehouse office. So normally we bring something, we use something for, some inspiration ideas, and then we work on the localization. Okay, you just said, okay, cool. There's a library inside the Nintendo Treehouse. Awesome. Yeah, it is awesome. There's a library. Read a book or a game. I don't know when he made the library, I don't know what he mean by library. But the problem is, when he said that, like, the routine, they normally would go to the library to check something out, as a resource to get some ideas and inspiration, you're again the keyword unintentionally spilling the bean. Now, people who's like, well, I want to know what's inside the treehouse. Thank you, Chris Pranger. Now we're gonna make a note. There's a library in the Nintendo Treehouse. That's a no-no. You don't talk about that because you're basically saying, oh, that's what's inside the Nintendo Treehouse. There's a library, so now people will take note of that. Is it a big deal? Well, having a library in a treehouse is not a big deal, but it's a big deal that you're openly saying, "Oh, we have a treehouse. We have a library." Again, you spill the beans. That's bad. So that's a three major thing that, in my opinion, I think that's why it broke DNA. Oh, he unintentionally broke the NDA. He talked about how the localization worked to some extent and jabbed on the JRPG fan. He talked about an inside scoop about Sakurai that could reflect on him and reflect the game. Why is the game like this? That's an inside scoop that people like what's it called? A People Magazine type thing. You get the idea. Inside scoop. Again, broke the NDA. And then he mentioned something like, oh, we have a library inside the Nintendo Treehouse. He broke that a bit of the DNA again. So that was a major thing. And there was an argument saying, well, I heard the Nintendo said that they're allowed to be open to what they talk about. My counter to that is it's probably going to be subjective. My guess is they're allowed to be open to some extent, but I guess they still have something that they can't talk about. So those are major three things. But you know what? Wasn't only those three major things that he talked about that Nintendo said, oh, you're fired? Maybe, or maybe not. Because he also was talking about the competitors. He said, well, no, that's not bad. Shuhei Yoshida was talking about the competitor. Reggie was doing it. Phil Spencer was doing it. True. But when I listened to it, I think, maybe in my opinion, I could be wrong, he went in there about the competitors. The thing is that for any company, you are okay to talk about the other company as a competitor, but you gotta keep it to a minimum. Kind of like what Reggie always been doing, Phil Spencer, Shuhei Yoshida. That thing is that you gotta keep that to minimum. And to some extent, he wasn't. He went great details about, I think, to some extent, he went great details about Microsoft. He went great details about Sony's game, Microsoft game. Yeah, he was also talking about third-party game, which is everybody know about Nintendo is lacking. You know, it's kind of like, from what I heard, it kind of like he rubbed it in when I tried to listen to it. I could be wrong, but he was talking about Sony, Microsoft, in depth, his own personal opinion. These are all. So is it wrong for a person to have an opinion? I'll get to that later, and I'll explain a lot of that. Why is it that it's, yes, you have a right to have your opinion, but you also have to keep it in the back of your head. You are representing a company, a group that you are basically working for. Not with. That's the key word there, for. So I was listening to the podcast. I was talking about in great detail about Sony, Microsoft about it, like the third-party games, how some of it, I think, again, I could be wrong in this one, I do apologize, that he was all talking about features, about the consoles. Oh, and also he defended the name Wii U. That one, I think, that's not a problem. Defending the name Wii U, I think from what I heard for that one, I did listen to it a bit. That wasn't really not a problem there, but he the problem really is that kind of a little too late to defend the name Wii U. Sorry. Like, even, well, let's just say even Nintendo from the higher up, let's just keep to that because of, what happened in the past. Nintendo higher up even admitted that the name Wii U wasn't that good. Like, hey, former Nintendo indie person or publisher, I think, I don't know what the name is, Adam, that's his name? It's Adam something. Darn it, I forgot the name. I do apologize. Adam used to work for Nintendo as a indie publisher, and then he quit because the backstory is he basically on Twitter made a comment about region lock, how he was basically disagreed. Nintendo told him to remove it. He gave him a gag order that he's not allowed to go to Twitter, and then a year later he just said, "Screw this, I quit. I don't like it." And then he also was the one that explained about Nintendo's business. You can listen to that again on my channel, MmGS V-Blog in response about it, how the business works. Again, back to Chris Pranger. And the name Wii U. Yeah, I mean, it was a little too late, basically. I'm sorry to say, it made him look like a fool. It's already too late, because like I said, a lot of people in the Nintendo, in the higher up, they already admit that the Wii U is not a successful console because of the name, because of the technology, because of the tablet idea. It didn't really work. People wasn't into it. The timing was wrong. The cost wasn't there. That they had to do whatever they take just to make profit. That didn't work. The idea, so it was too late. So basically, that is what the podcast is, something that I think, in my opinion, what he did basically got him fired. Again, the key word there is he unintentionally broke NDA by spilling some bean unintentionally. This is like the same situation a long time ago when the PS3 first debuted in the world. There was a former Sony Online Entertainment. Now they have a new name, but before that was Sony Online Entertainment. His name was Josh Robinson. He had a written interview, and the interviewer basically asked him, "What's your opinion about Sony's online?" He basically said, unintentionally, "I just prefer Xbox Online. Right now it's more refined than Sony's," and he left it to that. But of course, if you look at between the word, he kind of say, "I work for Sony, but guess what? I'm admitting our online's not as good as Microsoft." Ha ha ha. Again, I mean, he did say, he tried to defend himself and said, "Oh, I didn't break the NDA," but a Sony representative basically countered, but he said, "Yes, he did. I hate to say it, to some extent I have to side with Sony representative. He kind of did unintentionally by giving his opinion about the online for Sony." Now we talk about opinion. So when you work in the company, wait, we can't have an opinion. This is hard to say. The rule of thumb about when you're working for a company, when you're representing a company, is you have the right of an opinion about the company, but you also have to give a reason why you support the company, because you're working there because the reason is you want to work there, so you're supporting the company. And if your reason to work there because they need to make some money, okay, I mean, that's sort of a problem. That's a yellow flag there. But again, some people have that reason. That's a motivation. As long as you do your job, whatever. But the key word is that even so that you have the right of opinion, but you gotta keep it to a minimum, is the keyword is when you work for a company, the keyword there, work for, you're representing that company, is, another keyword I'm gonna give is loyalty. Yes, loyalty. You gotta have loyalty to your company. Why are you working for Nintendo? Why are you working for Sony? What's your reason behind it? And because if you like the company, you want to start something new, or they give you a chance, whatever the reason is, you gotta show loyalty. Heck, even because, I'm making a living, they're willing to hire me, because in the end of the day, loyalty is the most important thing for a company. That's why, when basically get dismissed for a previous job, or try to look for another job, or try to look for a job, the key word there is you should never ever have ill faith to a company unless the company itself is very unethical. You don't, because loyalty has to be there. When you're not loyal to a company and you really hate that because what they see is at any point you can just turn around and screw with the company. That's the thing. Loyalty. So Chris Pranger did have the right to his opinion, but at the same time, what happened was the loyalty there was a little bit questioned. What did he hate Nintendo? No, he defended Nintendo. He defended the Wii U's name. He was very loyal. He was loyal to some extent. He defended Nintendo. He defended Sakurai. But the problem is that it didn't really help the cause of his loyalty in defending Nintendo. It kind of made it worse by sort of unintentionally spilling the beans. Localization, the scoop about Sakurai, what's inside Nintendo Treehouse office. That's the problem. So, again, the keyword is loyalty. He probably was loyal, but at the same time, he probably didn't think, oh, well, what I kind of said, kind of like hint. And that's not a good thing. When you're saying stuff, people read between the lines, oh, there's a hint there. Oh, that's bad. Because another one I'm going to give an example is Ben Herman, former SNK President of America. At one point, he actually accidentally spilled the beans that with the Wii, because they were also trying to support the Wii. SNK was trying to support Wii, and he basically said, yeah, well, Nintendo's not allowing third-party games to have online with a Wi-Fi connection. And that's when the Wii U's launch, or the Wii's launch, not Wii's launch, kind of raised a red flag. Nintendo wasn't too happy about it. And if you know what happened now, the company kind of forced retired Ben Herman. That could be a different story. And I think I did talk about it, but yeah, they kind of forced retired Ben Herman, and yeah, Ben Herman basically just quit. When SNK needed to go back to California, Ben Herman said, I'm not going, I quit. He just went for another job. And the irony about it is that Ben Herman also used to work for Nintendo marketing team in 2004, 2005. Haha, finally there, a lot of connection. Sort of. But anyway, again, going back to Chris Pranger, so the question here now is, he kind of unintentionally broke NDA, kind of gave some hint of what he said. Now it's on the record, people took notes, the podcast is there, or not, maybe, they're probably going to, out of respect, going to remove it, out of trying to help Chris Pranger. Did he deserve to get fired? Oh boy. The problem here is NDA. When you break NDA, it is not just a minor punishment. It's a big punishment, because when you're breaking NDA, that can hurt the company's integrity. And it sort of did right there when he basically talked about stuff. And in any company, they don't take breaking NDA lightly. They take it way too serious. Yes, I'm sorry to say that. Way too serious that to some extent, firing someone is not enough. This company, if you break the NDA and you make the company look bad and ruin the reputation, they can also sue you for it because you broke the contract. When you sign that contract, there's going to be part of the contract is the NDA, the Non-Disclosure Act. You sign that and you agree you don't talk about stuff without the permission with your higher-ups, and that excluding PR, the public relation. Again, like I said before, watching the public relation there with him when he was doing the podcast, was he representing Nintendo or was he representing himself? Did he get permission to go to a podcast or not? I mean, there's a lot of questions what's going on here behind the scene. But in the end of the day, Nintendo just said, wow, you kind of, after a long evaluation, we just felt like you did break the NDA, we have to terminate you. I mean, luckily he told us all he got was termination, because, like I said, it could have even gotten worse. Because again, you broke the NDA. So now the question again is, did should they have fired the guy? My personal opinion is probably not. Because that was his first offense. He probably wasn't thinking, it was his first offense. He could probably make it up for it, but they didn't give him a second chance. They just said, well, you broke the NDA, you're fired. I mean, I would probably suggest, like Alpha Omega Sin said, give him at least between 2 weeks to 2 months suspension without pay. So what does that mean? You go work for us, you don't skip, but don't expect to get paid, but you're going to work for us. And if you refuse, we're going to fire you. Or, if you really don't like the job, there's a door. Thank you for working with us. Don't let the door hit you in the head. Which I don't think he was. I don't think that he wanted to do that. He loved the company. He was very passionate about Nintendo Treehouse. I think if you want to make a severe warning, 2 months suspension without pay or something like that. Yeah. Firing the guy a little bit is kind of bit harsh, but again, I can agree to some people. He did break NDA, and he was just luckily that just all he got was he broke NDA. Because the danger about that is it could be in the long run because, Nintendo's stock now is going down, Nintendo's reputation damaging to some extent. They could probably, for the long run, maybe a year or so, all of a sudden they give him a letter, hey, you're the guy to break NDA. We're going to sue you now because you ruined our company. And again, did he have a defense there? To some extent, I'm sorry to say no, because he signed a contract. What people also don't understand is that when you finally get accepted to a job, they don't just tell you you're hired and then you start working. To some extent, there are always paperwork when you sign in, believe it or not. And there's always going to be contract. If you want to work here, read this, agree to our terms and services, and that's including the NDA. Even fast food, even retailers, you have to do that NDA, believe it or not. That thing is that you don't talk about stuff that you're not supposed to talk about. And like I said, the same goes with, I gave an example about this one is, because I mentioned it before, when you talk about, there's a library in the Nintendo Treehouse. Remember, here's the common rule of thumb. If anybody can go in without any restriction, then you can talk about what's inside. Nintendo Treehouse, nobody can go in. You have to follow a protocol just to go in and see what's inside Nintendo Treehouse. And even in Kotaku's article, they don't even talk about that. They don't talk about what's inside. And this guy just said, we have a library. I mean, it's the same thing when you kind of get an interview. You got an interview, say, in a GameStop or Target or Macy's. They bring you back to the back room. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing in it, but finally I was able to go here that's I'm not supposed to go here as a customer, as a potential employee or, whatever. I see the back room, and, same here. Same here. I seen stuff that was a privilege. I don't talk about it. So that they ask me, what do you see inside the such and such? And I'm like, no, I can't talk about it. I mean, whether you decide or not, it's just common courtesy. You just don't talk about stuff. When you can't go in without if you have to have special access just to go into a certain place or room, you don't talk about it. But something that's a public place, like just going in the store at Target, Best Buy, Nintendo World Store, etc., then you can't talk about it. E3, even so, is open to the public to some extent. We have a lot of money. There are certain areas you can't go in unless they give you permission. That's just how it goes. That's how the business goes. Same goes with Nintendo Treehouse. And yeah, so I think him getting fired, I think that's kind of going too far, but the NDA, I keep going back to it, the NDA, he did unintentionally break it, and you just don't leave it unchecked. You have to do something about it, and they kind of did. So, yeah, in the end of the day, it is wrong I feel for Chris Pranger getting fired, but at the same time, I can understand why Nintendo what he had to do, because he became a liability. And what do you do when you have a liability in your company? You gotta get rid of it, and they kind of did it to him. I mean, they didn't give him a second chance. Should Nintendo give him a second chance? Yeah, I think, because now here's the problem. Okay, with this event happening, did Nintendo ruin their reputation to some extent? Sadly, yes, because the fourth CEO, remember, he said, "Oh, I never fire people because it will hurt people's morale." But the question behind that is he only talking about Nintendo of Japan, or is that Nintendo worldwide? So if Nintendo of Japan, they don't need, the fourth CEO, he doesn't fire people, then that's fine. Whatever, because again, the fourth president and CEO of Nintendo basically believed that firing people is not going to help the company. He rather cut his paycheck, which he did. But maybe that's only in Japan. Because remember, at one point, Nintendo of Europe, they laid off a lot of people. So, and then now we finally see, first ever history in Nintendo, they fired someone, not quit or left the company. Adam left the company. I know some people in the past left the company, like Perry Kaplan, notable person, left the company at her own will. Some other people did, left the company. That's why they had some new people. No, but this is the very first time we ever heard Nintendo, they fired someone. And that's going to be on the record no matter what. That's not going to go away. So people can say, "Oh, well, did you hear?" Like, hear what? Well, apparently Nintendo America do fire people. Oh, wow. They can't keep it a wraps. Because the minute you fire someone, you're not really now in the clutch of the company. So yeah, he can say that, yeah, well, I got fired. And of course Nintendo did respond, basically said, we don't comment on what happened, but we just want to say best wishes to Chris Pranger. So in translation is, yeah, we don't want to talk about it. We want to move on. So if you try to talk about what happened here, good luck. We're not going to talk about it, but we do acknowledge, yeah, we fired the guy. We had to. Best luck with the guy. Well, let's move on. So yeah, again, like I said, that's one of the problems now. So, oh shoot, so Nintendo America do fire people. That's kind of dangerous if you kind of slip up, and he did slip up. That's one of the problems. Now, the second also problem now is the reputation of the Treehouse, people working Treehouse. Well, what do you mean? Well, thanks to Chris Pranger, what he did, was going to be a revised rule now for them? Will they now be able to freely get interviews? Are they going to have a gag order saying, well, guess what, Treehouse people? You're not allowed to have interviews. If someone wants an interview with you guys, sorry, you can't have interviews. Not in the podcast, not in entertainment, nothing. You don't talk to people. And if you do, we're going to do what we did to Chris Pranger. We're going to fire you. So be careful with that. So again, I mean, at one point I even jokingly said, posted on a Twitter or a comment to IGN, said, hey, Jose, it'd be funny if you invite Audrey from Treehouse to be at IGN Nintendo voice chat. That'd be funny, be nice to Audrey. That's not going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen anymore, because the problem now is, say, yeah, you can't talk to people. You're not allowed to go to podcasts anymore. You can't be allowed to be interviewed, etc., etc. So, is it a bullying tactic? Is it a setting an example to someone because the guy just slipped up? I mean, he wasn't, again, he was loyal to the company. He didn't talk bad about the company, but that slip up basically gave him what Nintendo is. Again, it is very unfortunate that this actually happened. So again, now the reputation, it could change a bit. It could rectify itself in the long run, but right now, Now, the other people at Treehouse now, they're going to say, oh, shoot, so we better not go to a podcast. Let's not have interviews. I don't want to talk to you. You know, I don't want to lose my job, etc., because of what happened to one guy. Again, there's a lot of problem now. So, I mean, to Chris Pranger, you know, I feel for you. Best wishes to find another job. I think you can find another job. I mean, my private suggestion is the way you're talking a podcast was interesting. Maybe just do a podcast or two. Most people have done this before. Work to another competitor company. Amy Henning used to work for Naughty Dog as a writer. She was let go for unknown reason. And guess what? She got a job at EA to do the storyline for Star Wars Battlefront. Props to her. So, again, you might have other jobs, local side marketing, I don't know. So another thing I want to give my thoughts about it was that he did write something on his Facebook about his, I guess I had to say some sort of PD post, because it kind of felt, because I guess it was a hit on the moment. They told him he was fired. He wanted to get off his chest. That's why he said a lot of this. You could probably find it on not just Facebook, but on Google, because he removed it after a while, because I think the reason why he did that he wanted to get it off his chest. It was, I guess, he was frustrated. He's upset. Sometimes we do that. I'm guilty also. Something happened. I gotta get it off my chest. It is kind of sad. Because the problem also is that you say, well, you know, we got fired. It is unfortunate, but you always bounce back. A lot of time, it's not easy what you think it is, but we're just gonna live to that about it. I'm moving on from that one. But the problem with that one he kind of felt, like, yeah, he felt sorry for himself. I can understand, it is unfortunate. But what happened also is that because you gotta understand, Chris Pranger. Sorry about that abrupt cut. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, I gotta feel for him what happened, because again, not only is a family man, he has a wife and a kid, and he's in charge of the finance, and now because of the company, he lost his health insurance and he lost the source of income. I mean, if you don't know about that, little lamest term is the company was providing for his health insurance, because buying health insurance for yourself kind of expensive. That's why it's under health insurance for company pushing out the shop to make it cheap. But anyway, that's a different story. I'm just putting it out there. But the bottom line is now, yeah, I mean, now he lost his health insurance, his family's health insurance, and apparently even at one point, he even said that he still owes like close to $100,000 on his financial aid in debt. Again, I mean, yes, DMI, too much information, but I get what happened is he just really was just kind of like he was frustrated at, I can't believe this is happening. Why did I get fired? Why did I do this? I didn't think this through. I was, it's one of those things. It was a hit on the moment, but it is gonna. I kind of feel for him. I mean, I can understand that, especially when you're a family man and you're the one in charge of making the income for every month. There you go. Now it's for a while like, oh great, what am I gonna do? It is unfortunate. So anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts about it, about the whole situation, and my analyst opinion of why I think he did get fired. And I know he shouldn't, but it is what it is. So I do apologize if this is really long, that's more than an hour. But because the podcast was long, but I was trying to explain everything in detail to my best of my ability why this happened. I could be wrong, but I'm just putting it out there point by point by point. So again, maybe this is not 100 accurate, but again, it's just my opinion in the end of the day. So anyway, thanks for listening for this. Yeah. All right.